I've spent more than 80 hours playing Breachway, so let me share some of the tips and tricks with you that I've found out along the way. Starting with a simple tip to get warmed up. When you're just starting out, you might be wondering what the best route is across the map. But no, it's not the fastest way to the sector boss. You'll see lots of different types of nodes, but one that should always be included is at least one space station where you have at minimum a neutral standing with. Anything less and you won't be able to dock. Stations are the best locations to significantly improve and upgrade your ship. You can purchase repairs, additional fuel and new ship modules and module upgrades. And the better equipped you are, the most likely you are to defeat the sector boss. But one challenging aspect of incorporating a station on your route is that the location of stations, and other nodes by the way such as events and special objectives, are always randomized each run, so you might need to put in some extra effort to incorporate it along your route. Now, like I said, you can shop till you drop at stations, so the only thing holding you back essentially is the amount of credits you have. Which brings me to tip number 2, farming. To get the most out of each map, you want to visit as many nodes as possible, and you do that by making use of the yellow lanes on the map. At first, I just use yellow lanes to make small detours whenever I pass something interesting on a blue lane. But you can get the most value out of them by creating an S-shaped route on the map, moving backwards as much as you can. And this way you can farm more nodes, which in turn will yield you more credits, upgrades and bonuses. Now the only thing you need to worry about with this tactic is that you might take on more than you can handle, having less and less hull points remaining over time before you manage to reach the station. But there's a way to increase the odds in your favor, and that's to upgrade your ship on the go. In the beginning of playing Breachway, I made it unnecessarily hard for myself, because it took me a couple of runs before I realized you don't have to wait until you reach a station to upgrade your ship. You can just open the drop-down menu at the top left to upgrade your reactor, reorganize your reactor point distribution, install new or swap out modules and even assign module upgrades, all done from your cargo bay. And this way your abilities scale more gradually, which will make common encounters easier at an earlier stage. And having that 1 point of extra ordnance or energy each turn can make a huge difference. So let's say you're coming up to a station to start spending those credits. Now hold up, because there's one thing you can do that's going to save a lot of frustration, and that's to count how much fuel you expect to need for the rest of your route or the next part of your route after moving on again. But the trick is to do this before you actually arrive at a station node, and there's 2 good reasons why. 1. Hey guys, a quick notice in between. As I was editing my video, Edgeflow pushed an update that made some changes to the fuel system. Now as you can see here, there are now 3 units of fuel available at each station, and before they had an unlimited supply as long as you just kept paying. I also forgot to mention something in my original recording, which is that if you want to calculate upfront how much fuel is going to cost, you should keep in mind that you pay 30 credits for each unit of fuel during a regular run, but when you activate the escalation mode, that your fuel price increases with 5 credits per purchase. So first I think you pay like 30, 35, 40 and so on. Now this update does impact this tip in the sense that you can no longer plan ahead for a long route across yellow or secondary nodes, but still you will want to do some planning right before you move to a station. And here's why. 1. Because once you move over to a station node, the menu will be blocking most of the map, making it hard to come up with a good route and count your fuel. And 2 is because you will have limited credits, so it's nice to know how much you can spend on modules and upgrades and still have enough left to purchase the amount of fuel you want. And then you don't want to purchase fuel first and then dock only to find out that the station is selling an absolute banger of an upgrade you now cannot afford. So what I always do and can recommend is first count your fuel, then check out what the station is offering, and then make up your mind on what to do next with your credits. Tip number 5 is a small and simple one, but I bet there's a lot of people that once they arrive at a station are super focused at docking to look at that particular station's offering of modules, etc. and then afterwards just forget about this. So this tip is to look after your crew first as soon as you arrive at a station. In the main station menu that pops up, you can go to crew activities and select the only option there. And this will actually boost the crew's morale for the next couple of nodes, meaning your command points recover much faster between battles. So then you're likely to be able to just use crew abilities during battle more often, which can make a big difference. Like I said, small tip, but it can make an important difference. Now let's go take a look at spending those credits. Of course, you want to get the most out of your purchase, and this next tip is particularly useful when you're not that familiar with most cards and don't know their effect yet based on their artwork. So when you're considering buying or installing a new module, at first I didn't know you could actually take a closer look at the cards that come with it, because whenever I moved my mouse over or towards them, the pop-up disappeared. But if you press tab when you're hovering over the pop-up, you can actually lock it in place, and then you can hover over the cards and inspect them in detail. And in this way you can make sure that they fit within your strategy and if it's worth replacing the ones you already have now. Being able to play all relevant cards every turn is the best situation you can find yourself in. But to reach that point in a run means you need resources, and lots of them. However, you cannot hoard resources indefinitely because each resource type, ordnance, energy, mass has a cap that's easy to calculate. Multiply the amount of capacity you have by 5. So as an example, you can see here that I have 4 points of ordnance, so my cap is 20, and after I upgrade it to 5, it's going to be 25. Now just keep in mind, it doesn't matter how many reactor points you have assigned to a resource, it matters how much capacity you have. As you can see in this example here, so the number of white plus gray pips combined. Now that you know what your cap is, you can anticipate when to start swapping reactor points around, and that way make better use of your resources. Being efficient wins battles. A best practice that can help increase your turn efficiency is that of organizing your hand. Now, I often found myself passing the turn and then only finding out in the enemy's turn I was holding a card that was essentially useless. And every dead card in your hand is a wasted slot. So for example, you're holding a PDC burst card, but your opponent is never going to fire any type of missile, he doesn't have missile pods, so in that case it's just best to discard the PDC burst. Unless your plan is to poke into pieces, of course, that you can just keep it. But that's not very efficient. So at the end of the turn, before you pass, make sure you check your hand and you're not holding any cards that are useless. And this way you can improve your odds of pulling something you can actually use next turn. Playing cards in the right order can be the difference between defeat or making it to that station for a pit stop. And I'll admit, I have had these moments where I realized in hindsight that I should have made a different play. So don't waste shield cards to try and defend against incoming damage when you can just destroy the weapon module doing the damage. Save your shield cards for when the going gets tough. And this also means first applying any upgrade card that increases damage before you play a weapon card to maximize damage. And more often than not, taking a minute when your turn starts to come up with a plan will help you get the most out of your turn, and at the end this might shorten the battle with a few turns. All in your favor, of course, because this mitigates how much damage you receive, in turn increasing your survival chances in the long run. After having played hundreds of battles, I can honestly say that as soon as a battle starts, your mindset should be reactive and defensive instead of going on the offense straight away. Because the more hull damage you pick up along the way, the bigger the odds are that you won't be able to make it to a station for repairs at all. Now the best way to do this is first study what cards is my opponent going to be playing, focusing first on weapons, then shields, and then other supporting cards. Now there are some exceptions, of course, such as the first few battles when you start a new run, you can just go full offense mode on those, or somewhere mid-game if you happen to have found like a perfect combination of ship modules and upgrades, and then you might have some margin. But overall, the strategy that gets you the furthest, the easiest, is to let each card you play be aimed at lowering incoming damage. I hope this list of tips and tricks has been able to help you out one way or another, and do you have any other great tips? Let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed watching the video, give it a like to support it and subscribe to see more Breachway and other sci-fi gaming reviews and guides just like this one. It's free and it goes a long way in helping the channel grow. When you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support, and let me know in a comment if you'd like to see any other particular content here on the channel. Now as always guys, thanks for watching, have fun gaming, and see you next time.